Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Lee Primo of Eat.Health Lee, and this is the fifth week of the 1 year meal replacement experiment. And I had an interesting week this week. In the beginning of the week, I decided to change up how much calories I was eating. Before, from the previous week, I was eating 2,397 calories, and starting beginning of this week, I changed it to 2,700 calories. And my main purpose for doing that was I was noticing that the previous caloric intake wasn't enough for my amount of activity level. I exercise about 3 to 4 times a week. I do a good amount of cardio, and just that little amount of caloric intake wasn't enough for me. So I went on the online site and I said, okay, look, I am this years old. I have this amount of activity level, and then they recommended to go up to around 2,700 calories. So that's what I did. A couple interesting things from that. I've noticed the issue of horrible smelling gas has come back, but it only plagues me at night. So my in breakfast in the afternoon, I don't have any issues, but only 2 hours after my night meal, it comes back with a vengeance. And by the morning, it usually clears itself up. And I attribute this to the uppage of calories by about 400. And I notice it's starting to happen a bit less. So I think it'll probably follow the same pattern as before. It was 4 days of really bad gas, really, really sulfur smelling gas. And then after that, it started to clear itself up, and it hasn't been an issue. Like I said, until now, I just changed the caloric intake. I like to mention something I didn't notice also as well with my blood glucose and my anthropometric measurements. So my blood pressure, my weight, and I noticed that they're starting to go down in the slope. So since the beginning of the experiment, they were a bit higher, and now each week you can kind of see them go further and further a bit down. I think that's an interesting trend. Being that it's week 5, I still have certainly a couple more weeks to go on Joylent, but I predict that it'll keep on going lower. But I think at some point it'll level off. Because I try to keep the same routine every day. I try to keep my workouts around on the same days every week, and I think my body eventually will be able to get to like an optimal level where it'll level out. I do notice that like there's hunger wise, I don't have a physical hunger on Joylent. It certainly has enough fibers in it to keep me full from meal to meal and throughout the night into the morning. But I do notice more of a psychological hunger. When I was at the market my fiance and I go to every Saturday, where she gets her fruits and vegetables, at the moment we walked up, they had a chicken rotisserie stand, and when I walked by it and the smell hit me, I was like, oh, this, you miss food. I think more in a social aspect than an actual, let's say, for satiety, like just feeling full. It's more every now and then we go to the market, and part of going to the market, we get something to eat there, and that I certainly miss that aspect. Also, meals at night with my fiance. Sometimes she can't make them in time because I try to, like I mentioned before, I try to eat around the same times every day to try to keep with good fluidity. And sometimes she eats a bit later. She eats about 30, 40 minutes later, and then I eat my meals and I do my thing, and then she comes out and eats her meals, and it kind of doesn't feel right. There's a certain like you look at it like, yeah, you're so used to eating, especially with a loved one, and sharing meals, that when you don't, it kind of feels, yeah, it feels a bit strange. And so Joylent is, I think it's absolutely great as far as nutrition-wise, I think it's doing a good job, but the social aspect, I think it needs a bit of work. Now, obviously, the situation would be different if my fiance had Joylent and I had Joylent, and then we were able to drink it and at the same time. But since she's still on solid foods and I'm doing this experiment, it does create a bit of imbalance in the way we're used to eating. Other than that, my energy levels have been great. I've noticed that I'm able to, in a way, stay calm in situations. I don't know if that has anything to do with the Joylent or not, but I've noticed that my anxiety levels have kind of lowered a bit, and I have less skin problems. Before I had continuous flare-ups with eczema, and now I still get flare-ups of eczema, but not as frequent while on Joylent. One last thing I think is cool to mention is earlier this week I developed a rash on my back, and it was kind of it spanned the whole aspect of my back from my neck down to my lower back. So I went into my doctor, and she mentioned it was an allergic reaction to the psyllium husk I was taking. And what I was doing with the psyllium husk is I was incorporating it into the Joylent to see if my blood sugar levels would go down by incorporating a bit more fiber into the Joylent. And I didn't think this would alter the experiment too much. I just wanted to see if including that particular fiber, what the aspects of my blood sugar were. Now, I think the odd thing was before I took that psyllium husk for 2.5, 3 years, and I didn't have any issues. And before the experiment, I stopped the psyllium for a month, and I was reintroduced to it again. And at the doctor's appointment, I asked her, I was like, well, is it possible that the Joylent has influenced my immune system to some degree? Could eating more of vitamins and minerals on a steady level have an impact on it? And in her opinion, she's well, yeah, I think that is possible. If you had, let's say, a certain deficiency of a certain vitamin before, and then now you're getting a constant, this could be what your immune system is supposed to be like. So she theorized that I could have had an allergy to psyllium, but my immune system wasn't nearly as let's say up to par as it is right now. So I think that's an interesting thing to mention as well. Other than that, I'm feeling great. Yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. Next week is another video.